Hi, Senator. The beef the Washington Post has, and they're making a pretty big deal out of it, I'm not really seeing the great importance of the story, is that your timeline is off on your family history of coming from Cuba to the United States. Did you mislead anybody in your family history when you talked about it?
No, absolutely not. It's the date that my parents came. I was always under the impression that it was in the late 50s, and until very recently didn't realize that it wasn't.
They came earlier.
They came earlier for the first time as legal residents to the United States, no special privilege. But here's the point. It's irrelevant to whether they're exiles or not. The day that I was born, in May of 1971, my parents could not return to the nation of their birth unless they were willing to live under communism. In 1956, the opportunities they had in the United States were better than the opportunities they found in Cuba.
It wasn't a communist thing for them primarily. They just wanted to come for a better life.
The first time they came, that's correct.
Right, the first time.
Right.
And then when they tried to go back, then they saw the chaos that Castro had imposed on the island, and then they were lucky enough to get back, because most of them couldn't at that point.
And let me say this, they won't find a single credible Cuban-American voice in Miami that will dispute that my parents were exiles.
And why do you think the Washington Post is making a big deal out of it?
Well, yeah, man, I don't know. Obviously, they have reporters that have.
Did they call you before they published the article?
Well, they actually published the article, then they interviewed me.
And so they didn't call you before?
Well, they may have called the office before, but they certainly posted the article before they interviewed me, and then he added some of my statements into it. I think the bottom line is it misses the point. I don't need to embellish my narrative. My narrative is very simple. I am the son of exiles and of immigrants, and that has framed my political thought.
Some people say the Washington Post want to do a hit job on you because, you're a rising star in the Republican Party, possible VP candidate under consideration. Do you believe that?
I don't know what their motivations were. I mean, what I care about...
Are you mad about it?
I'm not mad about it. I just want the record to be straight. Look, if they want to say that I got the dates wrong, they're right, and I admit that. I didn't know, but I got the dates wrong. But if they want to say my parents were in exiles and I misled people about the essence of my personal story, that's not fair. It's outrageous, and I really wish they would have corrected their article, because I don't think it accurately reflects what I've said or what the essence of my story is.
You were critical last week of President Obama even after Gaddafi was killed. While some Americans say, well, he did the right thing. Why did you remain critical after Gaddafi?
Well, let me say, I'm glad things have worked out the way they did, but here's the problem. We have this chaos, the fact that this was a protracted conflict, the fact that it took so many months.
8 months.
8 months. But here's what's happened. A lot of infrastructure has been destroyed in Libya that has to all be rebuilt. 30-some-odd militias have now formed. It's going to be a bear to get them to disarm. You have a lot of young men who, instead of entering the workforce and rebuilding the country, are now young men that need medical rehab, prosthetics, because they've been injured in war. The cost of rebuilding the country has gone exponentially high. If the United States had just gotten engaged a little bit earlier and a little bit more aggressively, what happened last week would have happened months ago, and it would have cost a lot less money. There would have been a lot less uncertainty. Here's what else happened over the last 8 months. Thousands of shoulder-fired rockets have gone missing. And now these rockets are out there capable of shooting down an airplane, and we don't know where they are.
Would you, if you were in charge, have put American troops in that place?
No, and the Libyans didn't want that.
You would have bombed harder?
We would have done a no-fly zone earlier in the process. If the rebels had a no-fly zone when they asked for it, this thing would have been over.
Right, so you wanted more aggressive action quicker, but not necessarily any more military presence.
Not on the ground. Here's the other thing. NATO has limited capabilities. The British and the French, they worked very hard. They did a very good job, but they don't have the weaponry we have. If we had just stayed in that effort a little bit longer, this thing would have ended sooner as well.
Now, you were watching the Republican debates, right?
I have.
Have you seen all 90 of them yet?
No, I haven't seen them all.
They never end. Did you know there's going to be a new cable channel, 24, just debates?
It's like a reality show, yeah.
Now, when you see these guys on stage, and Congresswoman Bachmann, are you like in the flow here?
I have opinions about some of the things they say, and it's not that they necessarily got it wrong. It's just, I would have said it differently.
Who's closest to your opinion of the Republican candidates?
The truth is, and I know it's going to sound political.
I know it. Come on. Who's closest?
No, I think they all have elements of things I agree with.
There's got to be somebody.
For example, I think on the foreign policy realm, I think Mitt Romney's probably closer.
All right, so Romney on foreign policy.
But you look at, but that's probably true of Gingrich, who I think is, deeply invested in public policy. I've known him for a long time.
On taxes.
I'm in favor of a flat tax. I've always believed in simplifying the tax code, and I think there are some plans out there to do that. But I'm encouraged that Herman Cain is offering his plan.
It doesn't hurt to start there.
Well, and more importantly, it's now forcing other candidates to offer theirs, and that's a good thing. If we're going to have a debate in the Republican primary, on ideas. We're going to win this election in 2012, and I think that's what I hope will be, and that's what these candidates are allowing to have happen, is that they're engaging in ideas-driven debate.
What about them punching each other?
Well,
Harry and Romney.
Look, do we like to see it? No, but the Democrats did it, and they ran 50 state primary, and it didn't hurt.
So it doesn't offend you when they go after each other?
It's going to happen. I mean, when does that not happen?
It's amusing, though, right?
I don't know if it's amusing. It's part of the process. I mean, listen, none of us have to be in politics. We can decide to do something else with our lives.
But you're a pretty feisty guy. If somebody came up to you and said, yeah, I think you'd probably go back at him, wouldn't you?
In the most effective way possible, I suppose.
Look, I think
passion
is good, though.
I think it's important to have the record set straight.
There is focus on you as a possible VP candidate because Florida, obviously, is a state that the Republicans have to win. And you're a Hispanic American, and the Republicans have to get the Hispanic to at least consider them voting for them this time around. So you're at the top of pretty much everybody's list. Not saying that they're going to pick you, but you're being considered. All right? What do you think about that?
Well, I'm honored by it, but quite frankly, I'm focused on my job on the Senate.
Yeah, that's what everybody says.
No, it's true.
No, of course it's true. You're a senator. They elected you to help them in Florida, and you have to.
I haven't even been there a year yet.
Okay, and that's what Christie had in New Jersey.
Right.
But you could get a call. It's very, very possible that and you're not going to sit here and rule out that.
Yeah, well, let me tell you why I do. Number one is because there are some things I'd like to accomplish.
Are you ruling it out right
here?
Yes. On factor?
Yeah.
I want to get straight. So, no matter who the nominee is for the Republican Party, if they say, I'd like you, Senator Rubio, to consider being vice president, you're going to say, absolutely not, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, I'm going to say, I've been here in the United States Senate for about a year. There's some things I want to finish doing here. But I really, really want to accomplish some things in the United States
So it's off the table.
It is. It is.
That's almost shocking. I mean, you are just made for this. You're good on TV. You're absolutely a conservative. You represent Hispanic Americans in a fine way. And if you could elevate the Republican Party into the White House, you're telling me you wouldn't?
Well, why can't I do that from the Senate? I mean,
because you can't.
Oh, sure you can. Absolutely.
No, you're one of 100 there.
Yeah, but there's a lot of important public policy that's come out of the Senate. The Senate's an important place. We can do a lot of good from there if we focus on it. I believe I can do just as much good.
Right, what if they kidnap you and hide?
Well, that changes everything.
All right, well, look, I'm glad you're being honest with the folks. I'm glad you're being honest with them because certainly this is going to be a nasty campaign. And in Florida, it's going to be super nasty.
Well, when you have a president whose record is one of making things worse, they have no choice but to make it that way, and that'll be unfortunate. The American people will deserve better than that.
I can see you in 10 years, maybe even sooner, running for president yourself.
Or having a show here on Fox.
You might want to think about that, Senator. The Rubio factor. Well, I got to get out of here sometime.
Maybe I can
absolutely, you can slide right in here. I could see you running for president. First Cuban-American president, I could see it.
Well, that would be a tremendous honor. Obviously, those are things that present themselves down the road.
Absolutely.
But, here's the key. Right now, it's really important for me at this stage, 9, 10, 12 months into my career in the Senate, to focus on that and not talk about these other things because it starts affecting the way you behave and how you vote and how you do things. So
very true.
There'll be plenty of time for those kinds of decisions later on.
Senator, it's a pleasure to have you in. Thanks very much.
Thank you for having me.